Okay, we are continuing with our lesson on insurance. We just talked about the procedure that one goes through in taking insurance policy. Now, we are going to talk about the principles in insurance or principles of insurance. You know, we have already learned some time ago that when you say principles guide action. So before you take any insurance policy, you must learn and understand these principles so that the policy doesn't become void. Because if you go contrary to some of these principles, the insurer, that means the insurance company, might not indemnify you. So we are going to look at 6 of the principles. We shall look at principle of utmost good faith, which we talked about when we were discussing the procedure one goes through in taking insurance policy. We shall talk about principle of insurable interest. We shall also talk about the principle of contribution. We shall talk about principle of indemnity. We shall also talk about principle of proximate cause, and then we end it with the principle of subrogation. So these are the principles we are going to talk about. So the first one, principle of utmost good faith. Or in Latin they said, "Uberrimai fidei." This is a principle that underlines all insurance contracts. And it requires that both the insured and the insurer should be truthful. So the key word is being truthful. You have to be truthful. You, the insured, when you are giving the proposal form and you are failing, whatever information they require from you in respect of your age, in respect of a medical condition. In other words, if you have a medical condition and they ask you, do you have this medical condition? If the answer is yes, say yes. If you say yes, if you are 50 years and you say you are 50 years, it means that the principle of utmost good faith, you are being truthful. But if you lie in respect of your age, if you think that if this policy, if I am 50 years, I will pay, let's say, monthly premium of 100 Ghana cedis. But if I say I'm 40 years, I will pay 70 Ghana cedis. So, let me reduce my age. That means that you are not applying the principle of utmost good faith. And the implication is that it might make the contract void. And you know what a void contract is. That means that it will be as if you have not entered into any contract with the insurance company. And for that matter, if the race occurs and they find out that you gave wrong information, or remember we have talked about misrepresentation, so you were not truthful, or you were economical, as some people will say, in respect of the fact. There was misdescription, something that you were supposed to have described to them for them to give you the right premium. You did not. When that happens, it can make the contract void. So there is no need to lie. Be truthful when you are filling the proposal form, so that in the event of the occurrence of the rate, you won't receive your compensation. So that is what the principle of utmost good faith, Uberrimai fidei, is all about. It's about both the insurer and then the insured being truthful. But you are the one who is going to be insured. So let me talk to you that you should be truthful, because if you are not truthful, it may be difficult for you to determine it. But if you are able to determine it, you can also have legal action against them. So that is for the principle of utmost good faith. It requires that both the insured and the insurer should be true. Then the next principle is principle of insurable interest. Principle of insurable interest. What is it? Now, the question, let me ask this question. Can you insure your uncle's property? Can you insure your father's property? In your own name, can you insure your friend's property? The answer to this question is emphatically no. And that is what the principle of insurable interest is about. The principle of insurable interest means that somebody cannot insure a property or an asset that does not belong to him. In other words, if the risk occurs, you will not be the one to lose financially. For example, you are not the one who bought the car. You are not the one who built the house. So you cannot insure the car. You cannot insure the house because when the car is set ablaze, in other words, you have gone for fire insurance. What are you going to lose? It's the owner, it's the one who bought the car who is going to lose financially. So you don't have financial interest in the property. You cannot insure it. The property does not belong to you. So it cannot be insured by you. If you do that, if you insure somebody's property and the risk occurs, then insurance company finds out that the property was not yours. You will not be compensated. So that is the principle of insurable interest. It means that you cannot insure an asset or property that you don't have financial interest in the event of the occurrence of the risk. You are not the one who used your money to build the house. You are not the one who used your money to buy it. So if you see, if they allow people to be insuring other people's property, for example, if they are supposed to allow you to insure your father's property, what it means is that you can decide to insure your father's property and then kill him because you know that at his death you are going to receive that particular thing. Or you can, if you insure his life and they can allow that. But if you can insure his property, you can destroy the property. I believe you have insured your father's property, a building against, let's say, fire. You can then decide to set the building ablaze, that is on fire, and that you then go for the compensation from the insurance company because the property is not yours, and you know that if the property is burnt, you are going to receive money, and your father even doesn't even know that you have done that. So you burn it, and then you go and receive the money. So that's why they don't allow people to insure other people's property. You see. Your father will go, what about, but my father can go and insure my life. Your father insures his life. Let's say he goes for whole life policy. So he insures his life, but for your benefit. So you become the beneficiary. So your father will be paying the premium, and your father tells the insurance company that at his death, you will be the one to be giving the money. But let's also know that if at the death of somebody, another person is going to lose something financially, then it means that that person can insure. For example, your debtors. Your debtors. Now, if somebody has bought something from you on credit, the person becomes a debtor. If the person dies, you are going to lose the money the person is owing you. So therefore, you can insure such a thing, so that at the death of the debtor, the insurance company can then indemnify you. So that is for the principle of insurable interest. In other words, if you don't have financial interest in a property or an asset, you cannot insure. So that is why you cannot insure your father's, your uncle's, your friend's property. Then the next principle is principle of contribution. Principle of contribution. Please, here, let me caution you. Most students, if they are explaining the principle of contribution, They talk as if it is the same as premium. So they say, for example, this is the amount of money that the insured pays to the. So because of the word contribution, so they will even say contribute to the insurance company. That is wrong. There is difference between indemnity, premium and contribution. What is the principle of contribution? Let's do this. Now, you know, I mentioned this company, QIC. So you went to QIC, Quality Insurance Company, to insure your house against fire. So you start paying premium. Then that same property house, you insure it with another property, another insurance company. So you went to another insurance company, let's say SIC. Then, or let's say Star Assurance. Let me use Star Assurance. The same house you insured it with, QIC, you went to Star Assurance and insured the same house against the same rates, fire. So you are paying premium of, let's say, 100 Ghana cedis every month to QIC for insuring the house against fire. Then you went to Star Assurance to insure the same house against the same rates, fire. And then too, you are paying, let's say, coincidental, then too, they calculate the premium and you are paying 100 Ghana cedis. When the rates occurs, what happens? Now, they must have even asked you on the proposal form, have you insured this property against the same, with another insurance company, whatever? You said no. Then now, the race has occurred. What will happen? That is where the contribution will come in. The contribution, assuming that the damage that was caused to the house as a result of the fire was, let's say, 35,000 Ghana cedis. And that is what compensation, the value of the house at that particular moment when it was, or when it caught fire, or when it was destroyed by fire. So the insurance company, what they are going to do is that they are going to share proportionally When I say proportionally, I'm not your mathematics tutor. In mathematics, even JHS, you learned about proportion. So you understand that they are going to share proportionally to pay or to indemnify you. What does that mean? What it means is that assuming you pay the same premium there in both insurance companies, and both have determined that the value of the house is 35,000 Ghana cedis. Here, in proportion wise, they have to share, they must share it equally. So 35,000 divided by 2 is going to give us what? And that is how much they are going to pay. If it is 17,000, that will be 34,000. So it will be left with what? 1,000 Ghana cedis to be shared. So 500. So each one of them is going to pay 17,500 Ghana cedis. That is how much each one of them is going to pay. So they have proportionally shared the benefit that was supposed to have been given you by one of them. The question you asked about how would they know? It's very simple. We are in information world. So insurance company asking other insurance company as to whether property so and so or car number so and so have been involved in an accident and you are supposed to pay compensation, has this one also insured with you. However, they are going to know it, they will find out. So when they find out and they get to know, then they will share proportionally. So when you say contribution, it is the proportional sharing of the benefit that was supposed to have been, or that is supposed to be paid to the insured when the damage has happened. They will share proportionally. So that is the principle of contribution. So it is different from principle, or no, that is not even principle. Premium is not principle. So it is different from the term or the concept premium. So don't be confused with the two. And because they say contribution, if you forget don't forget that it is the contribution, the two insurance companies will contribute proportionally. So the ratio can be 1:1. That means they will share equally. It can be 2:1. If it were to be 2:1, then that means that, let me use a round figure that you understand. Assuming this was 30,000. If it is 2:1, then it means that one will pay 20,000 Ghana cedis. The other one will pay 10,000 Ghana cedis. If it is 2:1, they will have to sit down and do the calculations and know how much you pay to them in the form of premium and what have you. Then they will settle on how much each one of them is supposed to pay. So that is the principle of contribution.